the soldiers gone? Long time passing, where have all the soldiers gone? Long time ago, where have all the soldiers gone? Gone to graveyards, everyone. When will they ever learn? When will they ever learn? Where have all the graveyards gone? Long time passing, where have all the graveyards gone? Long time ago, where have all the graveyards gone? Gone to flowers, everyone. When will they ever learn? When will they ever learn? I want to take a second and tell you how this show came to be. In 1986, about 10 years ago, I was wearing a Halloween outfit that I found in the back of my closet and included all these clothes. When I got to school, a student said, "Gosh, a nice costume, Mr. Payton." And I said, "Costume? This is no costume. These are clothes I bought to wear." I used to wear these purple Levi flares all the time, and I bought this kind of peasant-style shirt, with the flowers on it. I bought these George boots to go down and see Hair in the Schubert Theater in Los Angeles in 1969, and this scarf the same night. Got my 2-inch wide hand-tooled leather belt. These are all things that I bought and was wearing during that time. It's kind of funny to look back on it now. 25 years have passed since then. I was a 25-year-old man then, so it's a long time ago. And this is the 10th anniversary of me doing this show. So the show is called Give Peace a Chance. I'm really glad you're here to see it. Let me get installed in my set here and I'll carry on. I want to start out talking about a word. The word is paradigm. And the definition of a paradigm is kind of an image you have of something based on all the collective descriptions you've heard and pictures you've seen. And certainly the 60s and hippies are somebody that's subject to paradigms. You all have kind of an image of what a hippie is. And whenever I question my students about it, I get responses that, peace and love, that's kind of an icon of the 60s. And so is, of course, the anti-war movement. And people dressing in outrageous fashions and self-expression was another element of the 60s. There are also things like smoking dope, and there was getting naked and skinny dipping, and there was free love and that sort of thing too. All that part of the whole story. What I want to do today is what I call a paradigm shift, though. And I want to take you past those surface images down below what the meat of the 60s was. People who were involved in the peace movement, there was a lot more substance to it than just you see on the surface. So I want to teach you a little bit about what the 60s were like and what the protest movement was like. And I'm going to do it through the songs of the artists of the time. The first artist I'm going to sing for you is a fellow named Bob Dylan. Bob Dylan's kind of a strange bird. He had 3 strikes against him as a performer. One was he didn't look particularly like a stage performer like Robert Goulet or something, and he had kind of wiry, strong, long hair, and he certainly did not have a singing voice at all. He had a terrible singing voice. He was no Mel Torme. He was actually booed off the stage at the Newport Folk Festival for being of such poor vocal quality. He also was associated with the drug culture, which turned him off to a lot of people, and I didn't go to his concerts for that reason. But what has turned out is that time has has kind of shown that his music held some prophecy and it held some poetry that has stood the test of time. And the first song I want to do is one of his poems. It was written by him and first made popular by Peter, Paul, and Mary, and it's called "Blowin' in the Wind." How many roads must a man walk down before they call him a man? How many seas must the white dove sail before she sleeps in the sand? How many times must the cannonballs fly before they're forever banned? The answer, my friend, is blowing in the wind. The answer is blowing in the wind. How many years must a mountain exist before it is washed to the sea? How many years can some people exist before they're allowed to be free? How many times can a man turn his head and pretend that he just doesn't see? The answer, my friend, is blowing in the wind. The answer is blowing in the wind. How many times must a man look up before he can see the sky? How many ears must one man have before he can hear people cry? How many deaths will it take till he knows too many people have died? The answer, my friend, is blowing in the wind. The answer is blowing in the wind. The answer is blowing in the wind. Thank you. It's wonderful to get up and perform when you have such a responsive and respectful audience. Thank you very much. Also, you may have noticed we're being videotaped today by KEHS, and they're going to put together a mix in this for their technology ROP program. I consider that to be one of Bob Dylan's most poetic songs. He also wrote a song I consider to be quite prophetic, and that was when he addressed all the different groups of people that were going to be seeing change coming soon, all the influential groups that kind of held the control and the power, and he told them that it's going to be different. It's not going to be the same old way it's always been. And he wrote this song called "The Times They Are A-Changin'." Come gather round, people, wherever you roam, and admit that the waters around you have grown, and accept it that soon you'll be drenched to the bone. If your life to you is worth saving, then you'd better start swimming or you'll sink like a stone, for the times they are a-changin'. Come writers and critics who speak with your pen And keep your eyes wide, the chance won't come again. And don't speak too soon, for the wheel's still in spin, and there's no telling who that is naming. For the loser now is later to win, and the times they are changing. Come, mothers and fathers throughout the land, and don't criticize what you can't understand. Your sons and your daughters, they're beyond your command. Your old road is rapidly aging. So get out of the new one if you can't lend a hand, for the times they are changing. Come, senators and congressmen, please heed the call. Don't stand in the doorways, don't block up the hall. For he who gets hurt will be he who has stalled. There's a battle outside and it's raging. It'll soon shake your windows and rattle your walls, for the times they are changing. The line it is drawn, the curse it is cast. The slow one now will later be fast, and the present now will later be past. The order is rapidly changing, and the first one now will later be last, for the times they are changing. Thank you. All this change he was talking about didn't come about by accident. It turns out that there was a huge thing going on for our country at that time called the Vietnam War. And everyone had opinions about the Vietnam War on both sides of the issue. And it's a very debatable subject. Some people felt that the honor of the United States was at stake, and we should be sending our young men to die in Vietnam to withhold the principles of freedom. Some people felt that the war was something that was it was another continent's war, and it was not anything to do with people attacking us or our boundaries, and they felt we had no reason to be there. They felt our motives there were political and financial. So people debated this a lot, and there's a lot of conflict about it. The first year Mr. Stewart came to the school, I asked him if he would come see this show, because I wanted to make sure he knew what I was doing. I'm presenting the perspective of a pacifist in this, and that's the role I took in that time. He and I are the same age, same graduating class from high school. He was, however, went into the military service and served in Vietnam as a paratrooper division. And I thought he might have a different perspective on this, wondering possibly if he'd be offended about the message of peace as opposed to war. And after the show, I asked him what he thought, and he said, no, he says, I don't find your show offensive at all. He said, nobody loves war, least of all those who had to go and fight it. The thing is that war is such a stupid premise. You know, it's the old premise that if you and I disagree, but I'm stronger than you and I can beat you down, then that proves I'm right. And that's the kind of thing we see, you know, in our hallways at school all the way up to international relations. The problem with war is it's just too impersonal. You know, you drop a bomb or you lob a mortar over a ridge or you fire off a missile or shoot out artillery off a Navy ship. And you don't see what it causes. You don't see the death. You don't see the people that are injured. You don't see the pain and the blood and the children that are orphaned and the children that are killed. My feeling is that if every death in a war were done face to face, where you stood off against that person and had to kill them, then we'd put war away for once and for all. We know that, imagine meeting a person from another country, but imagine doing it where you met them and you met their mother and father and their family, and you realize that this is a person like you. It's a person who loves his children, loves his wife and his family, a person who loves holiday celebrations, has a favorite song and a favorite meal and a favorite movie, but he's been thrust into this situation of having to be an aggressor or a defender. Imagine going home to dinner with this person once and kind of talking about their country and seeing how they are and what's the same and what's different. And then imagine standing up and killing them. You know, it's an impossible notion to think that we kill people, but we do it during war. We do it all the time. It's been going on for generations. That subject is addressed in this song by Buffy St. Marie. Well, he's 5'2", and he's 6'4". He fights with missiles and with spears. He's all of 31 and he's only 17. He's been a soldier for 1,000 years. He's a Catholic, a Hindu, an atheist, a Jain, a Buddhist and a Baptist and a Jew. And he knows he shouldn't kill, and he knows he always will. Kill you for me, my friend, and me for you. He's fighting for Canada, he's fighting for France, he's fighting for the USA. He's fighting for the Russians, and he's fighting for Japan. And he thinks we'll put an end to war this way. He's fighting for democracy, he's fighting for the Reds. He says it's for the peace of all. He's the one who must decide who's to live and who's to die, and he never sees the writing on the wall. But without him, how would Hitler have condemned him at Laval? Without him, Caesar would have stood alone. He's the one who gives his body as a weapon of the war, and without him all this killing can't go on. He's the universal soldier, and he really is to blame. His orders come from far away no more. They come from here and there, and you and me, and brothers, can't you see? This is not the way we put an end to war. Thank you, thank you. I saw an old movie once, and I wish I had the video because I'd show you a little clip of it right now. It was kind of a director's masterpiece. In this film, it showed a valley and then with a high ridge up on one side and a high ridge up on the other side. And on the top of the ridge, you could see that they'd built a big platform. And in this platform was the throne, and a king sat up on that platform. And down in front of him were all the horse soldiers lined up and all the foot soldiers. And also there were the bishops and the priests. And in this scene, the priests were going down the line and blessing the soldiers for what was about to happen. And it became clear that down in this valley, a war was going to be fought. And lives were going to be given. So the priest was going down the line saying something like this. Go forward in the name of your king. Go forward in the name of God. Go forward in the name of righteousness, and may justice prevail. And then the director did an amazing thing. The director cut across to the other side of the valley. And there you see a huge platform built up, and the king is sitting up on there. And down in front of him are all the foot soldiers and horse soldiers. And then there's the priests and the bishops. And they're going down the line saying, go forward in the name of your king. Go forward in the name of God. Go forward in the name of righteousness, and may justice prevail. And it was such a beautiful execution that you realize that this had nothing to do with God. It had nothing to do with righteousness. It had mostly to do with those kings who were fighting off their political battles and using these soldiers as pawns. The scene progresses where they go down into the valley and they just kind of whack it all out, killing each other until the last few are remaining standing, and that's how the war was determined. It's the old philosophy that might makes right. The stronger to the victor go the spoils. And the thing is, it has nothing to do with right and wrong. It only has to do with power. It has nothing to do with morality, has nothing to do with virtue, has nothing to do with scruples, but just who can beat the other one down. Listen, children, to a story that was written long ago about a kingdom on a mountain and a valley folk below. On the mountain was a treasure buried deep beneath a stone, and the valley people swore they'd have it for their very own. Go ahead and hate your neighbor, go ahead and cheat a friend, do it in the name of heaven, you can justify it in the end. There won't be any trumpets blowing come the judgment day. On the bloody morning after, one tin soldier rides away. So the people of the valley sent a message up the hill, asking for that buried treasure, tons of gold for which they'd kill. Came the answer from the kingdom, with our brothers we will share all the secrets of our mountain, all the riches buried there. Go ahead and hate your neighbor, go ahead and cheat a friend, do it in the name of heaven, you can justify it in the end. There won't be any trumpets blowing come the judgment day. On the bloody morning after, one tin soldier rides away. Well, now the valley cried with anger, mount your horses, draw your swords, and they killed the mountain people, so they've won their just rewards. Now they stand beside the treasure on a mountain dark and dread. Turn the stone and look beneath it. Peace on earth was all it said. Go ahead and hate your neighbor, go ahead and cheat a friend, do it in the name of heaven, you can justify it in the end. There won't be any trumpets blowing come the judgment day. On the bloody morning after, one tin soldier rides away. And so it goes on and on. Thank you. Once upon a time in the land of Hushabye, around about those wondrous days of yore, they came upon a sort of box bound up with chains and locked with locks, and labeled, "Kindly do not touch. It's war." Well, a cree was issued round about, and with a flourish and a shout, and a gaily colored mascot tripping lightly on before. Don't fiddle with this deadly box, or break those chains, or pick those locks. And kindly do not play around with war. Well, the children understood. Children happened to be good. And they were just as good around those wondrous days of yore. They didn't try to pick those locks or break into that deadly box. They never tried to play around with war. Mommies didn't either. Sisters, grants, nor grannies neither. Because they were quiet and sweet and pretty in those wondrous days of yore? Well, very much the same as now. They're not the ones to blame somehow for opening up that deadly box called war. But someone did. Someone battered in the lid and spilled the insides out across the floor. A sort of bouncy, bumpy ball made up of all the guns and flags and all the horror and tears and death that goes with war. It bounced right out and went smashing all about, bumping into everything in the store. And what was sad and most unfair was it didn't really seem to care who it bumped or why or what or for. It bumped the children mainly. And I'll tell you this quite plainly. It bumps them every day more and more and leaves them dead and burned and dying. Thousands of them sick and crying. For when it dumps, it's very, very sore. Now there's a way to stop this ball. It isn't difficult at all. All it takes is wisdom. And I'm absolutely sure that we'll get it back into that box and bind those chains and lock those locks. But no one seems to want to save the children anymore. Well, that's the way it all appears, because it's been bouncing around for years. In spite of all the wisdom whiz since those wondrous days of yore, when they came upon a sort of box bound up with chains and locked with locks and labeled, "Kindly do not touch." It's war. I want to tell you that I had an opinion about the way some protesters were doing their business with regard to the burning down of the ROTC centers and the barricading of buildings and throwing rocks and bricks. It always struck me as kind of the ultimate oxymoron that used violent means to promote a pacifist message. So I never supported people who used violence to try and end the violence in Vietnam. I want to do a song now by a fellow named Tom Paxson, who I had the privilege of meeting once. And it's a song that became kind of an anthem and a hope for people in that period. It's called "Peace Will Come." Peace, peace will come. Let it begin with me. We need peace. Let it begin with me. My life is all I can hope to control. Let my life be lived for the good of my soul, and let it bring peace, sweet peace. Peace will come. Let it begin with me. Although many elements of this program deal with national and global peace, it's always been my belief that all that starts with the individual. Each person taking a perspective that giving the best you can to the world, to stop hatred, to stop violence, stop crime. These all come from individuals, and only as they mount by many, many people do they have the power to change the world. And that's what happened in 1969 and 1970. Individual people standing up for what they believed in were able to change it and bring an end to that war in Vietnam. Peace, peace will come. Let it begin with me. We need peace. Let it begin with me. My life is all I can hope to control. Let my life be lived for the good of my soul, and let it bring peace. Peace will come. And let it begin with me. This was the dream of all of us in the peace movement, that one day we could wake up in a world free of fear, free of war, free of hatred, free of prejudice. We'd be free to be who we were at our very best. We could act the way we wanted, dress the way we wanted, let our hair grow out or cut it short without fear of being judged, criticized, put down. We all sought personal peace as a vehicle to end the war and to seek world peace. My life is all I can hope to control. Let my life be lived for the good of my soul, and let it bring peace. Peace will come. Let it begin with me. Thank you. I have one more song to do, and the bell might ring before this is finished. I'm going to ask you to stay in your seats, please, and just listen to the end. This is a song I'd sing anywhere, anytime somebody asked me. I sang it for Unitarian fellowships and Masonic organizations and all over the Southern California. It's called Strangest Dream. Last night I had the strangest dream I'd ever dreamed before. I dreamed the world had all agreed to put an end to war. I dreamed I saw a mighty room, and the room was filled with men. And the papers they were signing said they'd never fight again. And when the papers all were signed and 1,000,000 copies made, they all joined hands and bowed their heads, and grateful prayers were prayed. And the people in the streets below were dancing round and round, and guns and swords and uniforms were scattered on the ground. Last night I had the strangest dream I'd ever dreamed before. I dreamed the world had all agreed to put an end to war. What if they gave a war and nobody came? Thank you very much.